I paid for my sister's university education, and when she graduated, she told me, "You poor loser, you don't have a university degree." But I do. So I ruined her career, and no one hired her. Now she comes to me begging for help. My name is Martine, and my life took a turn I never imagined. It all started with a promise I made to myself when we were children, to always take care of my younger sister, Andrea. We were inseparable, two souls who grew up together in a humble neighborhood in the city. Our house wasn't big or luxurious, but it was full of laughter, dreams, and love. My parents worked hard to provide us with the basics, and although sometimes money was tight, love was never lacking. Andrea was always the light of our family. From a young age, she had a smile that lit up everything around her. She was curious, intelligent, and a dreamer. When she was about 7 years old, she told me she wanted to be a dentist. "Martine, I'm going to fix everyone's teeth so they can smile without fear," she told me one afternoon while we were playing in the backyard. I, being 5 years older, promised her I would do whatever it took to help her achieve that dream. At that moment, I didn't know what that promise would mean for me, but I was willing to do anything to see her happy. We grew up in a neighborhood where dreams often remained just that, dreams. My parents, Juan and Rosa, did the best they could. Dad worked as a mechanic in a workshop, and Mom cleaned houses. We weren't rich, not even middle class, but they always taught us that hard work and honesty could open doors. I believed it, and that's why, when I finished high school, I decided not to go to university. Not because I didn't want to, but because we couldn't afford it. Someone had to help out at home, and that someone was me. At 18, I got a job in a factory. It was exhausting work, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, loading boxes, operating machines, and sweating under the heat of the industrial warehouses. The pay wasn't much, barely enough to cover my expenses and help with the household bills, but I accepted it without complaint. Every peso I earned was divided, a part for my parents, another to save, and the rest for small pleasures like going to the movies once in a while or buying a new pair of shoes when the old ones were worn out. While I worked, Andrea continued studying. She was brilliant, got the best grades, and was always talking about her dream of becoming a dentist. When she finished high school, the time came to decide what to do with her future. University was expensive, especially a good one like the National University, which had one of the best dental schools in the country. My parents couldn't afford it, and although Andrea tried to get a scholarship, it wasn't enough. That's when I made the most important decision of my life. "I'll pay for your university," I told her one night during dinner. My parents looked at me with a mixture of pride and concern. Andrea, with shining eyes, threw her arms around me. "Martine, you're the best brother in the world," she exclaimed. I'm not going to lie, I felt like a hero at that moment, but I also knew it wouldn't be easy. To keep my promise, I had to make sacrifices. Every month, I allocated a portion of my salary to Andrea's tuition payments, and I also took out a bank loan to cover the rest. It wasn't a small amount of money, and that meant giving up a lot of things. Forget about going out with friends, buying new clothes, or saving for myself. Everything I earned went to the house, to my parents, and to Andrea's university. I worked overtime whenever I could. I came home exhausted, with aching muscles and heavy eyes, but it was worth it to see Andrea excitedly telling me about her classes, her professors, and how much she was learning. It filled me with pride. It was as if her dream was also mine. The first few years were tough, but happy. Andrea studied diligently, and every semester she showed me her grades with a huge smile. "Martine, this is thanks to you," she'd say, and I would just nod, downplaying it. I didn't need thanks. Seeing her progress was enough. My parents were also proud. Mom always said, "Martine, you're the pillar of this family." Dad, quieter, would pat me on the back and say, "Thank you, son," which was worth more than any words. But not everything was perfect. The factory work was exhausting, and even though I tried hard, I didn't see a clear future for myself. I wanted more, not just for me, but for my family. I started looking for other opportunities, jobs that paid better or that would give me a chance to grow. That's how, little by little, I began to climb. I left the factory and got a job as an assistant at a logistics company. It wasn't much, but it paid a little better, and I learned new things like managing inventory, negotiating with suppliers, organizing delivery routes. Each small step brought me closer to something bigger, although I still didn't know what. Meanwhile, Andrea was progressing at university. She was already in her third year, and everything seemed to be going well. But then, something changed. It wasn't overnight, but gradual, like a shadow that spreads without you noticing. Andrea started coming home with a different attitude. She talked less to us, spent more time with her new university friends, and when she was at home, she seemed distant. At first, I thought it was the stress of her studies. Dentistry isn't an easy major, and I knew she was working hard. But it wasn't just that. Her new friends were from wealthy families, kids who drove expensive cars, wore designer clothes, and talked about things we couldn't even dream of. Andrea started imitating them. She changed the way she talked, dressed, even the way she looked at us. One time, I overheard her talking on the phone with one of her friends, laughing about how small our house was and how my parents didn't understand anything about modern life. It hurt, but I didn't say anything. I thought it was a phase, that she was trying to fit in. However, things got worse. Andrea started making derogatory comments, not just about the house, but about us. One night, while we were having dinner, she said something that chilled me to the bone. "I don't know how you stand living like this, always worried about money. I'm not going to be like you." My parents sat in silence, hurt. I tried to calm things down, telling her not to talk like that we were all doing the best we could, but she just rolled her eyes and went to her room. That was the first time I felt something break between us. Still, I continued paying for her university. I didn't do it out of obligation, but because it was my promise, because I loved her, because deep down I still saw the Andrea of before, the girl who dreamed of being a dentist and who looked at me as if I were her hero. But it was getting harder and harder to recognize that girl and the person she was becoming. Meanwhile, my life was starting to take shape. After a couple of years at the logistics company, I was offered a promotion to supervisor. It wasn't a glamorous position, but it meant more responsibility and a better salary. I took advantage of every opportunity to learn. I read business books in my spare time, took free online courses, talked to people who knew more than I did. I wanted to build something of my own, something that would allow me to give my family a better life. I didn't have a university degree, but I had the drive, and that was enough for me. Over time, I saved enough to start a small business. It was a simple idea, a transportation and logistics company for small businesses. The city was growing, and many businesses needed someone reliable to move their products. I started with an old van I bought secondhand and a couple of clients I got through contacts. It wasn't easy. There were days when I doubted myself, when exhaustion and debt made me want to give up. But I kept going, because I knew I wasn't just doing it for myself, but for my parents, for Andrea, for the family. My business started to grow. I hired a couple of employees, bought another van, and soon clients started coming on their own. People trusted me because I delivered, because I was on time, because I treated each client as if they were my only one. In a couple of years, my small business became a solid company, one of the most respected in the city. I wasn't a millionaire, but I was comfortable. I could pay the bills without worrying, help my parents, and I even treated myself to a decent car for the first time in my life. I felt like I was building something important. But while my life was improving, Andrea seemed to be going in a different direction. She was in her last year of university, about to graduate as a dentist. I was excited for her, proud that she was so close to fulfilling her dream. I planned a big party to celebrate her graduation. I wanted it to be special, something she would always remember. I rented a hall, hired a caterer, and even invited the whole family and some of her university friends. My parents were happy, and I couldn't wait to see Andrea's face when she saw everything I had prepared. What I didn't know was that this party would change everything. That Andrea's words that night would make me question everything I had done for her. That the pain and anger I would feel would lead me to do something I never imagined. The night of Andrea's graduation party was planned down to the last detail. I had rented a nice hall in the city center, with decorated tables, soft lighting, and a caterer offering everything from empanadas to more elegant dishes to impress Andrea's friends. My parents, Juan and Rosa, were beaming. Mom had put on her best dress, one she saved for special occasions, and Dad, although not much of a talker, couldn't stop smiling. I was excited too. After years of sacrifice, of working tirelessly to pay for Andrea's university education, this was the moment I had been waiting for. To see her graduate, with her dentistry degree, ready to start her career. The hall filled up quickly. Aunts, uncles, cousins, neighbors came. And of course, Andrea's university friends. that group of boys and girls who had always rubbed me the wrong way. They arrived in expensive cars, dressed as if they were going to a gala, with the latest cell phones and an attitude that screamed superiority. I didn't pay them much attention at first. It was Andrea's night, and I wanted everything to be perfect. Andrea arrived at the hall like a queen. She wore a white dress that highlighted her smile, the same smile that reminded me of the girl who dreamed of being a dentist. I approached her, gave her a hug, and said, "Congratulations, little sister, you did it." She hugged me back, but it was brief, almost cold. "Thanks, Martine," she said, and then went off to greet her friends. I didn't think much of it. She was excited, I thought, and wanted to share the moment with them. The party was going well. The music was playing, people were dancing, and the atmosphere was cheerful. My parents were at a table with our aunts and uncles, telling stories and laughing. I was moving among the guests, making sure everyone had food and drinks. But then, I noticed something. Andrea's friends were in a corner, laughing uproariously, and she was in the center of the group, talking loudly as if she wanted everyone to hear her. I got a little closer, pretending I was going for a drink, and what I heard froze me in my tracks. "Look at these poor people around us," said one of the guys, gesturing around the room. "Andrea, is this really your family? How embarrassing." The others laughed, and Andrea, instead of defending us, joined in the laughter. "Oh yeah, I don't know how I put up with them. They're so basic. My brother works like a dog and doesn't even have a university degree. And my parents, well, you've seen them, cleaning houses and fixing cars. But I'm not like them. I'm different. I have a degree from the National University." I felt as if I had been stabbed in the chest. I stood there, with the tray of drinks in my hand, not knowing what to do. I wanted to think it was a joke, that Andrea wasn't serious. But the way she said it, with that mix of contempt and pride, made me realize she wasn't kidding. Her friends continued laughing, and one of them, a guy with a shirt that probably cost more than my weekly salary, said, "Andrea, you're a queen trapped in a family of losers." I couldn't hold back any longer. I put the tray down on a table and approached them. "Andrea, what are you saying?" I asked, trying to stay calm. Everyone went silent, and she looked at me with a mocking smile. "Oh, Martine, don't be so dramatic. I'm just telling the truth. You, and Dad, and Mom, always working like mules, no education, nothing. I'm the only one who got ahead. Or do you think that because you paid for my university education you're someone important? You're a poor loser. You don't have a university degree, and I do." The silence in the hall was deafening. I felt the stares of everyone, including my parents, who were a few meters away and had heard everything. Mom's eyes were filled with tears, and Dad was clenching his fists, containing his anger. Andrea's friends roared with laughter, as if it were the best joke in the world. I could only look at my sister, the person I had sacrificed so much for, and I didn't recognize her. This wasn't the Andrea who hugged me as a child, the one who promised me she would be the best dentist in the world. This was a stranger, a conceited and cruel person who mocked her own family. "Is that what you think of us?" I said, my voice trembling with rage. "After everything I've done for you, is this what you think? That I'm a loser because I don't have a degree? That Mom and Dad are less because they work hard to give us a life?" She rolled her eyes as if I were a child throwing a tantrum. "Martine, don't start crying. It's the truth. You're nothing compared to my friends. They have careers, connections, a future. You only have what? A trucking company? Please." That was the last straw. I don't know how I didn't lose my temper at that moment. I wanted to yell at her, tell her that without me, she wouldn't have that damn degree, that every peso I paid for her university came from my sweat, from my sleepless nights, from my sacrificed dreams. But I didn't. I turned around, walked over to my parents, and told them we were leaving. Mom was crying silently, and Dad put a hand on my shoulder. "Let's go, son. This isn't worth it." That night, as I drove home, I couldn't stop thinking about Andrea's words, "Poor loser." Those two words echoed in my head like a hammer. I had given everything for her, and she had humiliated me in front of everyone. Worse, she had humiliated my parents, the people who loved her most in the world. I felt a rage I had never felt before, a mixture of pain, betrayal, and something darker. That's when I made a decision. Andrea was going to learn a lesson. I didn't know how, but I was going to make sure she understood what it meant to belittle those who had helped her get where she was. The following days were a whirlwind. On the surface, everything remained the same. My company, Transportes Martinez, continued to grow. I had bought 2 more trucks, signed contracts with new clients, and was planning to open a second office in another city. But inside, I was consumed by rage. I couldn't get the image of Andrea and her friends laughing at me, at my parents, at everything we were, out of my head. I decided I wasn't going to let it go. I wasn't going to confront her directly, no? That would be too easy. I wanted her to feel what it was like to fall, what it was like to lose everything, like I had felt that night. I started investigating. Andrea had created professional profiles on various platforms: Google, LinkedIn, even a website where she promoted her services as a dentist. She was starting to look for clients, offering consultations at competitive prices to make a name for herself. It was the perfect time to act. I didn't want to physically hurt her or anything like that. I wanted her arrogance to boomerang back on her, and I had the resources to do it. I contacted a company that offered digital marketing services. It wasn't the first time I had worked with them. I had used them to improve my company's online reputation, getting positive reviews from satisfied customers. But this time, my goal was different. I explained that I wanted them to create negative reviews for a professional profile, without giving too many details. They didn't ask many questions, money talked. I gave them Andrea's name and the links to her profiles. Within a few days, reviews started appearing on her Google page. She left my teeth crooked, terrible service, I don't recommend her. She damaged my teeth and didn't even apologize. They were all fake, of course. Andrea hadn't even had her first client. I didn't stop there. I knew that in the digital world, perception is everything. I hired 2 local influencers, the kind with thousands of followers on Instagram and TikTok. I paid them a good sum to record videos telling made-up stories about how Andrea had ruined their teeth. One of them, a guy who made comedy videos, recorded a clip where he showed some crooked and yellow fake teeth, saying, "I went to Dr. Andrea Martinez, and look what she did to me. Never again." The video went viral in less than a week. The comments were filled with hate. How irresponsible is that dentist? She should be in jail. Nobody hire this woman. Every time I saw the notifications on my cell phone, I felt a mix of satisfaction and guilt. I knew what I was doing wasn't noble, but I couldn't stop. Andrea had crossed a line, and I was determined to make her pay. Her professional profile was sinking more every day. Her Google star rating dropped to 1, and her website practically disappeared from search results. No one in the city wanted to hire her. Her dream of being a successful dentist was crumbling before it even began. One afternoon, I received a call. It was Andrea. Her voice sounded broken, as if she had been crying. "Martine, please, I need to talk to you," she said. "Things are going badly for me. No one wants to hire me. There are horrible reviews online, and I don't know what's happening. Please help me." Hearing her like that, so desperate, almost made me hesitate. But then I remembered her words at the party, the way she laughed at me, at my parents, at everything we had done for her. "Andrea, you have a university degree, don't you?" I replied in a cold tone. "You're the successful one. Figure it out yourself." I hung up the phone and felt a knot in my stomach, but also a strange satisfaction. The next few months were a test of my resolve. My business continued to grow, and I was busier than ever. New contracts, client meetings, expansion plans, everything was going smoothly. But in the back of my mind, there was always Andrea. Not because I wanted to help her, but because I wanted to make sure her lesson was complete. Every negative review, every cruel comment on her social media was a reminder that my plan was working. Andrea kept trying to get started as a dentist. She rented a small office in a modest building, put up a sign with her name, and started handing out flyers on the street. But no matter how hard she tried, no one came. The fake reviews had done their job. People saw her Google profile, read things like, "The worst dentist I've ever had," or "She charged me a fortune and made things worse," and simply looked for someone else. The influencer videos were still circulating, and every time someone searched for her name, the first thing they found was an avalanche of criticism. One night, while I was reviewing some documents in my office, I received another call from Andrea. This time, her voice was pure panic. "Martine, I don't know what to do. I don't have a single client. The bills are piling up, and the landlord is threatening to evict me if I don't pay the rent. Please help me." There was something in her tone that reminded me of the Andrea of before, the girl who trusted me. But then, like a flash, I heard her words at the party again. "Poor loser. I felt the rage ignite again. Andrea, weren't you the one saying I was nothing because I don't have a degree? I said with a calmness that surprised even me. You're the dentist, the successful one. Why are you asking me, a loser, for help? There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then, between sobs, she said, I'm sorry, Martine. I didn't mean to say that. I don't know. I was wrong. Please don't leave me alone. I hung up without saying another word. I didn't want to hear her apologies. Not yet. I didn't hear from my sister for 2 months. I was focused on my work, on my company. But suddenly, one day, while I was in a meeting with a client, my secretary told me there was someone waiting for me at the reception desk. It's a woman. She says she's your sister, she informed me. My heart skipped a beat. I wasn't prepared to see her, not like this. But I decided to face her. When I arrived at the reception desk, there was Andrea. She looked haggard, with dark circles under her eyes and her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She was no longer the arrogant queen from the party. She was a shadow of her former self. Martine, please, she said with tears in her eyes. I don't know what I did wrong, but no one will hire me. My career is ruined. I have no money. I have nothing. Please help me. Seeing her like that, so broken, made me feel a pang of guilt. But I also remembered everything that had happened, everything she had said. Andrea, you brought this on yourself, I said. You thought you were better than all of us, and now look where you are. Where are your rich friends now? Where's that university degree you bragged so much about? She lowered her gaze, ashamed. I'm sorry, Martine. I was stupid. I shouldn't have said those things. I don't know what I was thinking. Please give me a chance. I had to close my office, and my friend stopped talking to me. Her voice trembled, but I wasn't ready to give in. Fix your life, Andrea, however you can, I said, and I asked my secretary to escort her out. But Andrea refused. Please, Martine, forgive me. I got carried away by my friends, by the idea of being someone important. But it wasn't worth it. I lost everything, and the worst part is that I lost you. Give me a job at your company, even if it's just something small. I swear I'll do my best. Her words sounded sincere, but I wasn't ready to forgive her. Not yet. I'll give you a chance, Andrea, I said. But not because you deserve it, but because I'm better than that. There's an open position at my company. It's a cleaning job. It's the only thing I have for you. Her eyes widened. But Martine, what's wrong with you? I have a university degree. I deserve something better, don't you think? But I told her that if she didn't like it, she could leave. She, being so desperate for money, finally accepted. The next day, Andrea started working at Transportes Martinez. She arrived early, wearing a blue uniform and carrying a mop. I saw her cleaning the office floors, passing through the same areas where I signed contracts with important clients. Some employees murmured, wondering who that woman was, but I didn't say anything. I wanted her to feel what it was like to start from the bottom, what it was like to work hard without anyone giving you anything just because you had a degree. Every day I saw her arrive, do her work, and leave in silence. She didn't complain, didn't talk to anyone, just did what she was asked. Part of me wanted to approach her, talk to her, maybe rebuild what we had lost. But another part, the one that still remembered her cruel laughter, told me this was what she deserved. Today, as I write this, I'm in my office, looking out the window. Outside, the city continues its rhythm, and I continue building my legacy. Andrea is cleaning the hallway, and for the first time in a long time, I don't feel anger. I feel peace. I feel that, somehow, we have come full circle. I don't know if we'll ever be the inseparable siblings we once were, but the only thing I know is that justice has been served. Subscribe for more daily stories.